Saturday will be the first top 25 matchup at Heinz Field since 2009. The Louisville Cardinals come into town coming off a tough loss against Miami. The Cardinals will be looking to get their season back on track, led by quarterback Malik Cunningham. The Panthers defense will need to step up to stop him and the other offensive weapons. We preview the matchup and more on this week's Hail to Pitt podcast.
What was your message about finishing it in these final 30 minutes?
Well, it happened in West Virginia where we knocked off number 2. It happened in South Carolina, and it's happening in Pittsburgh today.
Our guys had a lot of guts tonight. We're just going to keep getting better. I mean, that's what it is.
One hell of a game that you will never, ever forget. We shocked the world! Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt! This is the week of September 26th, 2020, and this is the Hail to Pitt podcast. I'm Alan Tazinski.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Pam.
The Panthers won 21-10 against a hapless Syracuse team that seemingly tapped out, even though Pitt gave them ample opportunity to take advantage of some mistakes. A win's a win, though. And now the 21st ranked in the nation Pitt Panthers are ready for the 24th ranked Louisville Cardinals. And an ACC Network big noon kickoff. We're forging the future this week, Pam. I am so ready for a top 25 matchup and new jerseys. Not the state, but new threads on the Panthers.
Oh, the hype around these uniforms are real. Hype around this top 25 matchup is real. I can't wait for Saturday to get here.
Yes, this is a really exciting game based off what Panthers did against Syracuse. I think showed sufficient acumen on offense and tremendous defense, Vince, to get me properly excited for the Louisville game, a team that really kind of got mollywopped by Miami from what I saw.
Yeah, well, that's a little debatable. I think that game may have been a little closer than what the score showed. But the bottom line is, if you're not fired up for this matchup, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, there is, baby. Somebody say something about getting fired up. Hit us up on social media at H2P Show on Twitter. Hail the number 2 Pitt Podcast at gmail.com if you'd like to email us. We appreciate any feedback on either of those two avenues or platforms, if you will. Or if you just hit us up on Panther Lair, we're there. We're on Reddit. We love interacting with all the Panthers about our Pitt Panthers. And, of course, this is a pretty easy podcast production. You can get your own podcast started today and have your own personal producer to work with at a very low rate. Just go to prettyeasypodcasts.com. We'll start with the review of the Syracuse game. We'll look ahead to debuting new jerseys against Louisville. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff in college football. It's going to be a very action-packed show, Pam. But first, that review. What did you think of the 21-10 victory over the Orange?
I think they did what they needed to do to get out of there with a victory. I think at times the offense wasn't super impressive, but the defense played very good against I thought overall against a not explosive Syracuse offense, to put it kindly. I thought it was weird towards the end of the game. Dino Babers still had 2 timeouts and he didn't use them, which, that's a little mind-blowing as well. But I thought overall it was an okay, mediocre performance for the Panthers. Nothing horrible, but nothing excellent either.
I don't like the 70-yard touchdown throw from a backup quarterback, but other than that, I thought the defense was solid. And offense and special teams, some bonehead plays, Vince. But overall, they handled Syracuse. They did not cover, though.
No, they did not. Certainly the defense brought it. That aside from that one play that you alluded to, the defense played excellent. Getting out after the quarterback like they needed to, making some splash plays, some turnovers like they needed to. And got off the field on 3rd down, which I think was just absolutely huge in this game. Syracuse only 2 conversions out of 14. So I really think that speaks volumes for where this defense is at. They're going to have a big step up in competition this week for sure. But I think it bodes well that they were able to dominate a bad team.
And the defense was put in bad positions a number of times with 2 missed field goals, and then a botched snap too. So they had to work in not great field position. They were able to get off the field, like you said, on the third downs. If not, that probably in some of those instances would have led to some more points for Syracuse.
7 sacks. 7 sacks. Shad Weaver back in the fold, 2 sacks in the game, making his debut. The stars were out as well. He and Paris Ford showing up big all over this game. Super impressed by them, and really, you should be doing that against the Syracuse Orange. We talked about it before, and of course it's Syracuse, so I'm always nervous playing that team even when they're bad. Pitt always seems to play to their level. They kind of did. Like you said, with the botched snap, it felt like, oh, here we go again. And then, of course, you got Kessman missing field goals left and right. Or were they both left? Or were they both right? I don't remember, but they were misses. And I don't know. I'm kind of not so worried about him because he has, I think, had bad games before and bounced back, right, Vince? Am I wrong about this? Guy's been kicking for a while.
Yeah, and I guess 2 points with that. I think, say if they make those 3 field goals and Pitt wins 30-10, I think everybody's probably feeling a little bit better about this game. But that's what happened. And yes, Kessman has bounced back, but I think you got to start questioning, do you bring in possibly another kicker to kick whenever, it's within 40 yards?
A short distance kicker.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff's been done before around the country. I think it at least needs to be, considered or looked at. I'll admittedly, I don't know about the other gentlemen that are on the depth chart at the place kicking position. I don't know. We haven't seen them kicking a game, but I think it's at least something that's got to be explored or at least talked about.
I think you give them one more game.
Yeah, I'm with Pam there too. I think you keep Kessman, in full force as the kicker and give him his bounce back game. But I have heard actually rumors that an old Pitt legend has resurfaced, a very famous intramural kicker from up there at the Cost Center named Craig Icavino, and maybe you call someone like that. He's also a longtime rival of Pat McAfee, so they do have that option, Vince.
Yeah, he has resurfaced, but I'm not sure about his eligibility.
Oh yeah, that's always it's COVID season though. You could probably bring back all sorts of great classic Pitt players.
Maybe bring back Blewett.
Yeah, bring back Blewett. Maybe I would even actually for the Louisville game try to get Revis Island to get back out there because they're going to need him because the Louisville Cardinals can go deep. They got speedsters and that 70-yard bomb that the Orange. Out of everything in that game, I took away that play the most was the thing that stuck with me because that one play felt like it could be a glimpse into what the Louisville game will be because they will attempt that a lot more, and I think they could execute it a lot better, and that is something they have to shore up big time this week in practice going into that game. We'll get into the Louisville game in a minute, but I know that we need to take some time to really highlight and spotlight Vincent Davis, Pam, because you've been calling him out. You've been saying play him more, and he was really all over the place for the Panthers, catching the ball a little bit, handling the rock out of the backfield the most of all those running backs.
Yeah, he looked good. I like mixing him in with some of the other guys, but it was good that he got the start. I think he'll be critical in the Louisville game. He had 18 carries for 53 yards in the Syracuse game and 2 catches for 26 yards. I really think they can continue to use him in the pass game as well as a check down guy or just an option out of the backfield.
Do you think he should be, the main guy? Because, we've been clamoring this for close to a year now. And he finally got the start and, he didn't have that, at least numbers wise, not the best of games here. Now, maybe you could attribute that to, maybe some offensive line play or some, some play calling. But he certainly didn't take a stranglehold on this backfield. And one thing I was disappointed was Daniel Carter, the bigger running back that we have. He got hurt earlier in that game, and on the couple runs that he had, I was really impressed. But
he puts the shoulder down real well, I think. But yeah, he being hurt's bad.
I liked how Sibley ran as well.
Yeah,
I think the way this offense is set up and the guys you have, there's not going to be one guy that carries the rock 30 times. And I think Vincent Davis, like 15, 17 carries a game, 2 to 3 catches. That's like his wheelhouse. I feel like he can be a productive player on this team with those numbers.
And Coach kind of alluded to that in his press conference this week. He said that no running back has taken control of the starting position. So I expect that, it could be anybody's game, anybody's carries are up for grabs, and he kind of put everybody on notice, especially the last style bender, Israel Bonaconda. He said, he didn't have as good a week in practice, and that's why he didn't get any carries in the game.
What about AJ Davis? Where are we with him at this point? He's fallen out.
Well, I wouldn't say he's fallen out, but he saw his workload diminished for sure. I mean, I think he is what he is, and he's a steady, solid guy, but he's not a game breaker. He's not. I was far more impressed. Numbers aside, I was far more impressed with Vincent Davis and Daniel Carter.
And Sibley as well.
Running out of that wild hog formation.
Yeah.
I wonder how this is going to go this week, if that'll change week to week. But 18 carries from Vincent Davis and being reliable enough, not a ton of yards, but just being responsible with the football. I think he is kind of inching his way towards separating himself away from the other guys, but we'll keep an eye on it. The offensive line went out there, and overall, I think, with their first test after hardly even, I wouldn't even call it a cupcake. I would call it maybe like a macaroon or macaron, whatever you call those tiny little treats when you talk about Austin, PA. But this week they had a decent enough test. Also, an odd look, that 3-3-5, Pam. They gave up 3 sacks. They ran the ball okay. The O-line, it was like a toe dip. I think we saw some signs of promise there in terms of improvement from last year.
Yeah, the one thing that bothered me in this game was like the 5 men in the backfield penalty at times. And Pitt just, they didn't seem set on offense, and they had a few penalties. It was still a little sloppy to me. I don't know if that was what Syracuse was looking. I feel like that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Overall, the offensive line did okay. Interested to see what it does against a more traditional scheme.
Exactly. A more traditional scheme might benefit them, might make it easier. That 3-3-5, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt facing the orange in that odd look. No game tape could prepare them for that, so they kind of went out there, and it was according to how the game went, and I thought they managed it all right, Vince.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly wasn't terrible, and it wasn't.
They weren't slow out the gate. Like, they were a little bit faster out of the gate than UNC was against that defense.
Well, yeah, I was right about to make that point. Yeah, I mean, for as much hype as North Carolina's received, they were only able to muster 10 points through 3 quarters against the Syracuse defense. So, they're no slouch. And I mean, they did get some pressure on this team, and there were there was some other gaffes that they had, but there wasn't enough disruption. The offensive line was not giving up that much pressure in order to cause a significant derailment of the offense, and that there was no there weren't too many. There was no too many fumbles. I know there was one on that backward pass at the beginning of the game, but there wasn't a whole lot of there wasn't enough to really make it that serious. Now, if you're playing a really good team and you give up one good big play could be the difference. But I thought the offensive line played pretty well. I think it's a work in progress. It's going to get better. They're going to have to take another step this week.
Yeah, it felt like they were in control for the most part, and then also defense. They gave up a field goal after the fumble pass, right? That was only the first 3 points Syracuse scored. So also, defensively being able to face that adversity and just give up 3 points. Also, you like to see that. So overall, Pitt controlled it. They handled the responsibility of being the favorite in that game well. And, they learned some things about themselves, like, Pam, that their tight ends still can't catch footballs.
Yeah, Lucas Kroll's disappointing. And he kind of continued that tradition of tight ends dropping passes. We saw it in the Steeler game, too, with Eric Ebron. Or Vince McDonald. Maybe it's something about, like, Heinz Field or the air quality. I mean, they can't catch on the road either. That was a little disappointing as well.
I will say that Lucas Kroll, of all the terrible tight end drops we've seen recently, he looks the best dropping the ball with that long flowing hair, Vince. So at least he's got that going for him.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I counted, he had 2 drops that would have extended drives. And I believe there was another one from one of the running backs on a swing pass that would have went for some big yardage. So those were, 3 drops that I looked at, that really, maybe if, they get those, they probably score at least one more touchdown, on this team. And that's the kind of execution that they need to have. And that's, you're hoping with Kroll that's just, first action in a while this year, getting out there. Hopefully, these tight ends can really, get on track. But maybe at the end of the day, I'm not quite sure how much they matter that much, because I have been very impressed with Jordan Addison and transfer receiver DJ Turner.
Yeah, they're the 2 main guys.
These guys are making some excellent catches all over the field. Shockey also getting involved.
Drive Wayne did really well.
Yeah, Jared Wayne getting involved. You got to look at this, and it's like this receiver room, even without Tayseer Mack, just seems to be night and day to me. From where it was last year and even some years prior. They got some guys that are, maybe not, any blazers on this team, but, just a lot of guys that are smooth route runners that can catch the ball and make some plays whenever they get it.
Yeah, that's really exciting to see. And I think facing a team like Louisville also, it's going to get the receivers, I think that whole room will get up for this game. You're going to look across and see, Tutu doing his thing and Louisville garnering all this attention offensively. You're going to want to show up and keep up with them and prove that, Pitt has wide receivers too. Pitt could, score points too. So I think the challenge this week falling into their lap is exciting, an exciting challenge for the receivers. Before we wind down our review here of the Syracuse game, though, I want to bring in a new guest here, Pam, for a special conspiracy theory segment here on the Hail to Pitt podcast, Mr. Jesse the Body Ventura, to talk about Pitt tight end drops, because, Pam, these been happening so long. Could there be point shaving going on for the Pitt Panthers, just like there was back in the early 2000s in basketball? Point shaving there. What about these tight ends? Are they shaving points, dropping all these balls?
No, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but also you'd think that the tight ends would catch a few to make it not seem so obvious if that was the case.
Yeah. The thing about Pitt basketball point shaving is they might have been able to get away with it because they were damn good. So they, here and there, a missed layup, I guess, didn't hurt them, but they were in some dogfights in the Big East. We'll get into the point shaving talk in just a moment. Let's preview Louisville now. 1-1, ranked 24th in the nation, according to the AP, and they got beat by the U. The game of the week on Saturday, 47-34. Vince, you think it was closer than that? I watched the whole game. I felt like Miami had control. Louisville looked explosive, but damn, they couldn't stop the U.
Well, that's true. They could not stop
especially them. In the third quarter. The game got out of hand a little bit, I thought.
I guess I suppose so. But also I think it was a lot early in the game as well. There was a couple times where Louisville got into the red zone but had to settle for field goals. Mm-hmm. While Miami, they were getting the red zone, they were scoring touchdowns. And, I look at that. I look at Louisville had 3 turnovers. Miami didn't have any. The yardage was relatively even. I think this game was a little closer than what the score had, but red zone opportunities, turnovers. I think that was really the difference in the game. I would not look at the fact that Louisville losing this game and losing it by double digits is any reason to think that they're not a formidable opponent.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's one thing you do have to take away from this is that Louisville may have gotten beat by double digits and kind of embarrassed in a big-time game against a big-time opponent, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be a formidable opponent. They're not going to be a tough out for the Pitt Panthers. Explosive on offense. They were only outgained, you said, 50 yards in that game, but the turnovers were what broke their backs, and you got Malik Cunningham going out there. He's getting all sorts of praise as a top ACC quarterback in a year where ACC quarterbacks are pretty damn good. Des Fitzpatrick, Tutu Atwell. These guys out there are big-time playmakers who can have home run type of plays. They looked explosive to me, and I am very nervous because if it becomes a track meet, I don't know if Pitt has the gas tank to keep up with Louisville. Like if it's like that Miami game without the turnovers, you got to get turnovers against this team, Pam, or else you have to score 47 points.
Yeah, and Javion Hawkins, too, on the ground for Louisville is a big threat. This game, it's going to be – there's something really interesting to watch on Bad here. And I think the great blog, what's it called, Cardiac Hill, had this stat. Last season, only 6 teams had a red zone touchdown conversion rate worse than Pitt at 37.5. So Pitt was one of the worst in the nation at red zone touchdown rate. And then last year, only 4 teams in college football allowed a red zone touchdown conversion rate higher than Louisville. So Pitt's really bad at scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Louisville last year gave a lot of touchdowns up in the red zone. So I think it's going to come down to a lot of red zone opportunities for Pitt and not settling for field goals, regardless of how Kessman's kicking. They need to get 7 when they get down there and take advantage and put the pedal on the metal on offense because this Louisville offense will score. So we need to extend drives and maybe have a few splash plays and take a shot downfield occasionally.
Are you even suggesting that Pitt may need to maybe go for it on 4th down, like a 4th and 1 from the goal line, something like that?
Something like that.
Okay.
Pat Narduzzi, I think he might do it, Vince.
Well, we'll see. I think there could be times in this game, where that's necessary. But also, you gotta let's point out, Pitt's red zone offense actually has been pretty good this year. I think they've been getting touchdowns this year. I mean, with small sample size, but they have been. Absolutely, they need to be able to score and. Yes, we could talk about controlling the clock all we want, to keep Louisville's offense off the field, keep the defense fresh. I'll tell you something right now. I'm very confident in this defense because staying fresh at least because we're rolling too deep on the defensive line.
What about the back end of the defense though?
Well, we're rolling I'll get there. We're rolling too deep on the linebackers. I think those are the key guys. They're going to be the ones that have to really chase down, Malik Cunningham. They're the ones that got to stay on top of it. Now, I'm not quite sure what the scheme is going to be. Are they really going to be playing this quarters coverage the entire time, or are Hamlin and Ford? Are they going to be asked to cover slot receivers? And tight ends often. It's going to be interesting to see because, as you alluded to, Alan, Tutu Atwell is a game breaker at receiver. This guy has tremendous speed, and we do not want a repeat of that over-the-top pass that happened last week.
Yeah, and I think defensive linemen getting hands on balls could be a huge help in this one. Okay. I'm hoping that's when you're saying they go too deep. Having the gas tank up front, crucial in this game. You need to have guys who are ready to be jumping up, knocking down passes. I hope Baldonado's eligible for this game. I don't know how long he's out for, Vince, but having a guy like that, someone with size, could be very helpful When you talk about Tutu out, well, they're going to probably try swing bubbles, screens out wide to that guy. They're going to try to get him the ball any way they can. So you need hands up.
Yeah, and Cunningham's a good passer too. And in order to, the defense needs to stay disciplined and not, get themselves in a bad position. I feel like overall the defense so far this year, and once again, small sample size, hasn't committed too many penalties where you shake your head. They've done pretty good. So if they continue to do that, and kind of just stay in the right position, I think it'll be okay. But we got to look for, at times, like the safety help over the top as well, for these long passes, because they can take a shot downfield and they can be successful.
Yeah,
I think they match up well, Vince. I think they match up well defensively against the explosive offense. Like you said, I'm confident in them. A few splash plays on defense in terms of turnovers, maybe even a scoop and score, something like that. It's only going to take a couple. I think they'll be ready for the entire game. The whole, the whole 4-quarter game against this team is going to be exhausting, I think. But I think they're ready for it. And then offensively, I think the matchup could bode well. If those big backs are also available and ready to go, Daniel Carter, small front here for Louisville. That's probably why they're so bad in the red zone. They got some small guys.
Yeah, not for a 3-4 defense. I was looking over some of their players, not as big as what you would expect, but they do have a lot of speed on this defense. Don't make any mistake about it. But I think we got to go in and we got to be aggressive. But of course, establishing a strong run, and just really hitting them in the mouth, I think that's going to be crucial.
Sheldon Rankins ain't walking through that door. Dominate on the line, Morrissey. Get your guys ready. Pitt and Louisville. And they're going to be wearing new jerseys, Pam. Black and yellow and silver?
Yeah, I love it. The steel, the gray, they're nice. Pays homage to the Steel City and the forging of steel for the Cathedral of Learning, right? There's a good video out there about that.
That is going to be a different look this Saturday. I don't know if I'm ready for it. The basketball uniforms, it worked. It looked cool. I love it. I'm all about black and yellow. I'm all about Pitt embracing the rest of the colors that the whole city wears. But with that different color helmet, Vince, I can't wait to see what that looks like with the black and yellow scheme.
Well, it's as Pam said, it's a little bit more steel. And I think
steel. I'm colorblind, so I don't know the difference between steel, silver, and gray. I don't know whatever it looks. It's not black, yellow, or blue. It's a different colored helmet than usual.
You're going to see some Steel Panthers out there on Saturday, Alan. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours offline who's very into fashion, and he's hyped up for these uniforms. I am just ready to see these guys go out there like a blast furnace.
Baby, I can't wait.
Explode all over these guys.
Yeah, forging the future with some Steel Panthers. I think it's going to be excellent on Saturday. We'll get to our predictions for Pitt and Louisville. But what about this? Before we get into what they're saying on the Pitternet, I've been waiting for it all week, Pam, and I found it. Dino Babers, his quote, why he didn't call those timeouts. Are you ready to hear?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Dino Babers on why the Syracuse Orange basically gave up against Pitt when they had timeouts. They could have tried to stop the clock, get the ball back, and fight back. I was going to let the team eat on the first 2 plays, call timeout after the 3rd down stop so they couldn't run any time on the punt team, get the punt, and then have 2 timeouts for the offense to do something. That's very difficult to do. So basically he said because he wasn't going to have timeouts for his offense to move the ball, if my offense isn't going to have timeouts, I don't even care why even try. That's basically what he said.
That's so dumb because the rules and the stoppage, especially like in college, favor the offense.
The clock stops after a first down.
You need to get the ball back.
I don't know. I mean,
the look on his face said more than anything he could say. After
you could do a lot of speculation into this. I mean, Coach Narduzzi and Dino Babers are good friends from what I understand, and maybe they were going easy on each other.
No, that's ridiculous.
Dino Babers, by just letting the clock run out there, it probably maybe saved Tommy DeVito's life because he was getting smashed every play.
Or Rex Culpepper, who's got one of the baddest name. He's got like the best mashup of two early 2000s quarterback names ever.
He's got a great story too. Cancer survivor.
Yeah,
good to see him out there.
Son of football players. He went out there. He looked good with his big bomb. Yeah, maybe it was for the better that Dino just kind of tapped out. Kenny Pickett throwing for over 56 attempts against Louisville. You think, Vince?
Ooh, 56 attempts.
Does he double up his total amount of attempts? I wanted a prop for this one. His total amount of attempts this season are 56 so far. Whipple in a game like this, I feel like, is like, ooh, I could double that up.
I'm going to say under 56 attempts. I hope so. If it's over 56 attempts, I'm not saying Pitt's going to lose. I'm just saying everybody's going to be very nervous about the outcome of this game.
I also think they need to control the ball a little bit more too. I mean, they can do it with short passes.
You would think.
But the run game's been okay so far. But that doesn't mean anything with Whipple. So I think it's going to be under, but I think Kenny Pickett does 50. That's my prediction. 50.
All right. 50. I'm going to go 48. I think he's going to get close. But
wow.
That's good. Yeah, I know you won't like that.
The look on
Vince.
Vince's face is
you have to realize who the offensive coordinator is, Vince. Come on. This is Mark Whipple we're talking about here.
I don't think my heart could take 50 passes.
Well, you better get ready. I don't know. Maybe eat your Cheerios all week long. Get heart healthy. Saturday's game. We're forging for the future, but also it's going to be a dogfight against Louisville. All right, let's talk about what they're talking about in virtual reality on the Pitternet.
Can you explain what internet is?
I hear there's rumors on the internets and to all those faceless keyboard warriors on Twitter.
But we're a good dog football team. I'm proud of these guys.
All right, our first piece of Pitternet action comes from Pitt Zit on Panther Lair, who said, for a senior quarterback, this team will struggle all year with him, and we don't have an answer behind him. Talking about Kenny Pickett, Pitt Zit? First of all,
you didn't finish that.
Is that him on to basketball?
Yeah, that's.
I thought that was you wrote in the notes me to go next to basketball. We have a basketball piece to talk about next. So he said
that was him.
We don't have an answer behind him. On to basketball. I'm assuming that's how he said it. On to basketball.
Yeah. That's rather depressing.
Dark.
But.
The quick looks you got at Yellen and Bevel really have you that down on the backup situation and Pickett's performance so far.
Even if you're down on the backup situation, Kenny Pickett I think's played pretty good. I don't think people could ask for a whole lot more.
Some would say he's building a Heisman case slowly but surely.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we'll see. He's going to have a big stage here on this big noon kickoff, and possibly a shootout situation against a high-powered offense, and they're just going to be going blow for blow, and we'll see who comes out on top. But Kenny has proven that given the right situation, he can do very well.
Yeah, I was down Jerry's Records in Squirrel Hill earlier today, and I was talking to this old timer there, and he even was pretty optimistic about Kenny Pickett. And usually those old timers don't say stuff like, "Oh yeah, I think the kid's good. I see a little Marino in him." No, I rarely see anyone talking about Kenny in this way. Pitt Zit, Pam, I can't believe this. Yeah,
it's shocking, but people are very negative at times on Panther Lair, even when they're 2-0 and they won 55-0 or whatever. So.
I guess. Well, he wanted it. So on to basketball, Pitt Zit, and for basketball, we're gonna go to Carl K for our next thing from the Pitternet.
I played with people at Pitt that shave points.
Yeah, that's Carl Krauser. He was on DK Sports Radio's Memory Lane, and in his Zoom call interview they did, Carl Krauser reveals they shaved points, or his teammates shaved points while he played at Pitt, 15 years ago and change. I don't believe it, and if it's true, I don't know who the hell it could have been. Levon Kendall, Aaron Gravens, I don't know.
I played with people at Pitt that shave points.
Yeah, this is bizarre, and I was, we were at Pitt for Carl Krauser's senior year, and even a couple years, I believe he played 2 other years before that, and I'm going to have to go back and start looking at some of these rosters and maybe, rewatching some of these old games, because he's saying that guys that were great finishers would just, not make baskets at certain times, and then he had to just take over the game himself. I want to hear names before I decide if I want to believe this or not.
I talked to some people within the family, angry uncles, and they all instantly said, "Oh, it was Chevy Troutman. Had to be him. That guy missed everything."
Him?
And I couldn't believe that. Mr. Basketball, Indiana, huge reputation he brought to Pitt. He wouldn't shave points, would he?
And that's what makes this disappointing. Is like you didn't get the vibe from any of these guys that they would do something like this. And
has any of the guys on the team? I haven't followed this story.
Not that I've
Has
seen.
anyone come out? It hasn't even gotten much attention either. So I don't know. I think it's
sour grapes, maybe, Pam? You think it's sour grapes from Carl Krauser?
I'm not saying he's lying. It seems like it's a story that's not getting much legs, which I think is fine since it's just one guy saying one thing.
And it's horrible that I really don't want this to be true. And at the same time, I really don't want Carl Krauser to be making this up, because
there's no good outcome. Right.
And people are going to laugh at this, but at that time, 2003, 2004, he was the most popular athlete in the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
and I mean, this is before Ben Roethlisberger and Troy Polamalu, and before Ben Roethlisberger made Hines Ward into a star player.
Before Sidney.
This was as Jerome Bettis' career was, winding down, before Sidney Crosby and Kenny Malkin, and before Andrew McCutcheon. This guy was, this is who everybody, this was that dude. And to see something like this is just horrible. It just makes me sick.
It is, but also it kind of gave me courage. So this week on the show, I want to reveal something. I played intramural football with people that shaved points at Pitt. And I'm not going to write a book where I'm going to name names like Carl Krauser said he's going to do. I'm going to say it. That Yoder guy, Vince, he dropped too many passes in the end zone. Yoder, prove me wrong. You didn't shave points in intramural football.
I didn't know him personally, but I played on the team with him, and it looked very suspect.
And he was the guy. We all lived on the same floor, but that was the one guy that didn't live at Lothrop, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But this is
he was infiltrated by bookies in another dorm.
I don't know what was going on, but I know that I should have a championship trophy behind me here in the studio in the shadow of the cathedral. Damn it. All right. Shaving points aside, let's see what they're talking about at the barber shops where the people are getting a shave, talking Pitt sports. What are they talking about, you think, down at the barber shops all over Pittsburgh?
This point shaving situation has really garnered a lot of discussion around, people that are trying to remember what happened 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's tough to remember, but a lot of people do.
Another Saturday coming, and the Panthers are playing, trying to find out what the answers are saying.
You believe that about Pitt hoops shaving points when Kreiser was there?
I think they're still doing it. You see the team lately in that?
Yeah, but I know back then it wasn't Sam Young, though. That guy, he was just too good. He wasn't shaving points at all. They sure could use him these days.
Hail to Pitt.
What the injuries are saying.
So that's what the Inzers are saying. Just a bizarre situation for 2005 Pitt basketball.
I always thought the scandal with that team was that Sam Young was 55 years old and playing college basketball. That was the one thing I thought would come out about that team, not point shaving.
That's really never been, totally unearthed. His birth certificate for, what year was he actually born. But moving on, Alan, we have
you guys like to speculate today. This should be like Hail to Conspiracy Theory pods.
Oh my goodness. The stories that we could, we could do a whole show on, what was happening on campus in the mid 2000s.
I'm not going to be on that one.
Yeah, we may have to start a Patreon just so we could put that stuff. That stuff you got to pay for. I think we might have to start a Patreon for that, Pam. That's a good idea, though.
Maybe that'll be a special episode. If Pitt wins the ACC, maybe we'll do that one. But Alan, moving on, we got another conference joining the fray in college football this weekend. It's like the Royal Rumble. Another conference joins.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be good. A deadly draw, and we're getting the SEC. Oh, college football. Welcome back, national champs, LSU Tigers. Welcome back, Auburn Tigers. Kentucky, Mississippi State. We got Mike Leach, and we got Lane Kiffin coaching this weekend in college football, in addition to Pitt, Louisville. And another big game with Army and Cincinnati. Two teams that have been really impressing people a lot lately. This is going to be easily the best weekend of college football so far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's got the most games. We got three, top 25 matchups. We got some other, ranked teams that are going to be going at it. We're going to be talking about a few of them here. This is a very under the radar game, in my opinion. Number 23 ranked Kentucky Wildcats getting 7.5 points on the road at the Auburn Tigers on the Plains. Auburn ranked number 8. I think we could all start out by saying that we all don't care for Auburn.
I don't care for Auburn.
But Pam, I know you're a big Bo Nix fan, and I got a suspicion that you're picking Auburn in this game.
I don't know if I'm the big Bo Nix fan. I think I said one time if he can take a step up, Auburn will be a competitive team this year. I don't think that makes me a big.
You like Bo Nix? You love Bo Nix.
I like him. I like the magic of Bo Nix against Oregon, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want that to be a thing I'm known for.
Aren't you that one that likes Bo Nix?
Yeah. I don't want to be recognized as the Bo Nix fan when I'm walking down the street.
I definitely think Auburn's going to pull away here. It'll be interesting to see what any of these SEC teams look like. But I think even though Auburn lost a lot, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think, and here we go, if Bo Nix can take another step forward, I think Auburn will be pretty competitive in the SEC this year.
Yeah, people are expecting big things for them and big things for Florida. Meanwhile, the national champs are getting disrespected, even though Coach O's at least he's on 60 Minutes and getting national attention still, but no one's picking them. I'm going to watch all these games. I am really excited to see that transfer they got from North Dakota State at LSU, Vince. That's the guy I'm waiting to see. Jabril Cox, who's supposed to be their next great beast on the edge. So I'm going to be watching players in the SEC this week. I'm excited to see, including Bo Nix. I like watching him play football. But really, besides Pitt Louisville, the game of the week is Georgia Southern and the Ragin' Cajuns, the number 19 Ragin' Cajuns. That's also a big noon kickoff. Get your double screens going. Have that on your small screen with Pitt Louisville.
Well, and also something to be on the lookout for. One of the big noon games, Notre Dame Wake Forest, is postponed, so it'll be interesting to see. I bet that Florida Ole Miss ends up on ABC on Saturday. That's my prediction.
There you go.
That game already pegged for ESPN. That would be a rare SEC game on ABC. That doesn't happen.
But I'm just looking at the schedule, and there's really nothing else they can.
If anything, it should be this Kentucky Auburn game that goes.
That's SEC Network.
I know that, but I'm saying if anything, that should be the ABC game. I'm fascinated to see what Kentucky can do with a quarterback playing quarterback this year, as opposed to last year when they had a wide receiver playing the position. I think this game's going to be much closer than you think.
I'm going to go ahead and say Florida might not have a fun time with Ole Miss either down in the SEC. I mean, there's a lot of – this is the most pressure on a Florida team in a long time in terms of expectations. Yeah, right. So we'll see how they react to that. What a slate. What about Army and Cincinnati, though? You have that here as our third game to watch out for. 22 versus 14, Vince. That's an ESPN game, 3:30 kickoff.
Yeah. Army catching 13.5 points. I think this number has maybe even gone up a little bit. I just seem to think that, Army's looked pretty good, but this Cincinnati team, they're just they could sneakily score a lot of points here, and I think it's going to be just too much for Army.
Cincinnati was a team that people before the season and before some of these other conferences joined the Rumble, that people thought is like a sleeper or non-Power 5 that can make some noise. Yeah. So I think they're a good team as well.
And look out for my sneaky pick, Troy against number 18 BYU. Pam, BYU had a bunch of players get COVID results, positive COVID results, because they all got together for a gambling night. Would you ever think BYU players would have a gambling night? What scandal in 2020 here?
I'm not going to answer that question, but I think I don't know about Troy, though. We'll see. I don't know if people should be running to the rivers to cash a ticket or put some money down on Troy.
And then, of course, you got, so much to watch out for. Mike Norvell coaching from, I don't know where, remotely, they said, against Miami with Florida State. That's also an ABC game, so super excited for the SEC to join the fold here. And a great slate of action all over college football. Enjoy it. And we're going to give our Pitt Louisville score here. And I don't know. I don't want to go first, Pam. I like seeing what you do first.
I'm going to go Pitt wins 36-34.
Whoa, my God.
Yeah, was that my score last week?
The defense will score. No, I think I was
30. I was 36-33 last week against Syracuse. I was way off.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and I think the defense is going to get a score or a key turnover at the end of the game to get the stop. So 36-34 Pitt. A weird scoring, weird things are going to happen.
All right, that's going to be, I don't know, not good for your heart there, Vince. If you're concerned, that score right there.
I think his heart's already under stress thinking about this. You should see him. It's terrible.
This is a tough ball game to pick. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I'm going to say 31-27. Pitt's going to win this game, and I think the key things on defense, tackling is going to be so critical. Tackling is going to be absolutely critical. I think there's going to be guys in open space, and they're going to have to bring them down whenever they get their hands on them. And the other player I'm going to single out here is Keyshawn Camp. Relatively silent in his first action against Syracuse. He's going to have to push and collapse this pocket. I think that's going to be absolutely critical. We've seen how great Kalijah Cansey's been, getting a couple sacks in his first couple games. But Keyshawn Camp's got to rise to the occasion here. Collapse that pocket. Cunningham's going to try to escape to the outside. I think we're going to do a good job keeping it contained. Can't let him get up the middle and get first downs quickly on the ground. Keyshawn Camp's going to have a big game.
I'm with you. I think Keyshawn Camp sees that. He sees Kalijah having success early, and I think he goes out against Louisville, and he says, Kalijah can see me, and I'm going to go out there, get 3 sacks, maybe cause a fumble, and help Pitt win. I think Keyshawn Camp's going to be your player of the game, and I think Pitt will win 30-25. Book it. Panthers win, and we're rolling, and they're going to probably be ranked top 15 after this win, beating a top 25 team.
Again, it depends on who wins and loses above them. But you would expect a victory over a top 25 team to really catapult them forward.
And we're going to forge forward, forge the future. Pitt women's soccer forging the future as well. Ranked in the top 25 for the first time ever. They're number 12, so I'm hoping Pitt football gets this win, Pam. And we got 2 number 12 ranked teams nationally on campus.
That'd be a great thing to have for the Panthers.
That'd be a swell thing to have in a time where people are looking for swell things to have. Why don't you have yourself a weekend? Watch some college football. Enjoy the outdoors a little bit more. It's getting a little chillier, but you can still go out there and build a pizza oven or just smoke some meats. Whatever you want to do. Still watching football outside weather, right, Vince?
Oh, it's always football outside weather, especially in the Steel City, forged by steel.
We're forged by steel, and we're not shaving anything here on the show, Pam. I'm not shaving the rest of the season just because of what Carl Krauser said. I don't want to be accused of anything.
That's right.
Although I do have a wedding in like a month, so I think I have to shave. Oh well, we'll figure that out. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Pam, you got anything left?
Nope. Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt, everybody. We will see you next week. Let's beat Louisville in our black, yellows, and iron-colored jerseys. Party on till next week. Thanks for listening.